Okay, let's talk about one of cinema's absolute giants, Federico Fellini. We're going to try and unlock his work, and it turns out the secret to his sprawling, totally surreal masterpieces, well, it might just be found under the big top.
And get this, Fellini himself gave us this wonderfully strange clue. I mean, a clown, a camera, a beat-up old car. It sounds like some kind of riddle, right? But it's actually the key to his entire cinematic universe. A universe he saw as one giant, chaotic, and totally beautiful circus. So that's really the big question we're going to tackle here. Why the circus? I mean, of all things, why was one of film's greatest geniuses so obsessed with it? What did he see in those clowns and acrobats that so perfectly captured his vision of life, of Italy, and especially of his most famous film, La Dolce Vita? All right, Section 1, the maestro's obsession. To really get this, we've got to go back to the beginning. We need to trace his path from where he started in neo-realism to where he ended up with the circus. So before he was a famous director, Fellini's roots were planted firmly in what was called Italian neo-realism. He actually started out as a comic strip cartoonist, but his big break in cinema was writing for guys like Roberto Rossellini on these really gritty post-war classics. And you have to remember, this was the film style of the era. Super raw, super real, and all about the struggles of ordinary people. But, Fellini couldn't be contained by that. After his early films, like The Amazing La Strada, which he himself called a complete catalog of my entire mythological world, he just made a sharp turn. He completely broke away from that realism and pointed his camera at something way more personal, something that had fascinated him since he was a kid: the circus. Okay, so what did the circus actually mean to him? This brings us to our next section. Life is a circus. And let me tell you, it wasn't just about entertainment, not even close. For Fellini, it was this deep, profound metaphor for existence itself. I mean, look at this. For Fellini, the circus was everything. It was a perfect metaphor for life. It was a peek into his own dreams, his own inner world, but it was also a sharp critique of the decadent, flashy society that was popping up in Italy. It was his way of exploring the human condition, the ultimate stage for beauty, talent, and, tragedy, all performing right next to each other. You have to picture post-war Italy. It was a country basically in a collision with itself. On one side, you had the old Italy, this dreamy, magical, agricultural world where people were just kind of wandering. And on the other, bam, the new Italy, industrial, modern, and defined by this feverish economic boom. The circus, with all its struggling performers and that classic mantra that the show must go on, well, that became Fellini's perfect way to talk about a nation desperately trying to find its footing. Which brings us right inside his most iconic film, The Sweet Life. All these ideas we've been talking about, the spectacle, the search for meaning, the critique of society, they all come together just perfectly in 1960's La Dolce Vita. The whole film is structured around the number 7. Pretty interesting, right? It follows this journalist, Marcello Rubini, through 7 major episodes. It's like 7 days and 7 nights, where he's just drifting through the high society of Rome, desperately searching for some kind of meaning in what everyone's calling the sweet life. And the characters he meets? Well, they're basically just circus acts. They're all performers in this grand spectacle of Rome's sweet life. You've got the glamorous actress Sylvia, whose arrival is nothing but pure spectacle. Then there's the disillusioned intellectual, Steiner, whose perfect life is just a really carefully constructed act. They're all playing a part in this dazzling but ultimately empty performance. And here's a wild piece of trivia. This film literally changed our language. So, Marcello's photographer sidekick in the movie? His name was Paparazzo. And the name just stuck. Fellini's film gave us the word paparazzi that we still use for those relentless photographers chasing celebrities. How crazy is that? But of course, you can't have a circus without music, right? And for Fellini, scoring the spectacle was just as crucial as the images themselves in creating this incredible world. So, let's talk about the ringmaster's composer, Nino Rota. This guy was the musical genius behind Fellini's cinematic circus. I mean, their collaboration is one of the greatest in film history. We're talking 27 years, nearly 70 films together. Rota wasn't just a composer for Fellini, he was basically his artistic soulmate. And this quote from Fellini himself, wow, it just says it all. He believed Rota had this almost telepathic understanding of his vision, Apparently, Rota could compose the perfect music based on just a feeling or an idea from Fellini without even needing to see a single frame of the movie. That's synergy.
Rota's score for La Dolce Vita is absolutely the glue that holds the whole sprawling, fragmented movie together. He just brilliantly blended these circus themes with lounge music and little Italian cafe interludes. He used this huge range of instruments: organ, piano, electric guitar, accordion, you name it. And with all that, he captured both the crazy, optimistic spirit and the chaos bubbling just underneath the sweet life.
So as we pull back, we start to see the bigger picture. And this brings us to Fellini's enduring legacy. It becomes crystal clear that the circus wasn't just some phase for him. Nope, it was the absolute heart of his entire artistic vision, from his very first film to his very last.
And this timeline really just makes it undeniable. Fellini's entire career is practically bookended by the circus. His very first co-directed film in 1950, Variety Lights, was set in the world of vaudeville. La Strada was all about circus performers. La Dolce Vita had those cameo circus acts in the nightclub scenes. He even made a whole documentary tribute in 1970 called The Clowns. And then, his final film in 1990, The Voice of the Moon, is just filled with circus references. The clowns, the spectacle, it was the constant theme that defined his work.
So what does it all mean? Ultimately, the circus gave Fellini a language, a visual language, to explore the huge contradictions of being human. The joy and the sadness, the sacred and the profane, the spectacle and the solitude. It's the painted smile of the clown that's masking a deep sadness, right? The dazzling performance versus the quiet loneliness backstage. It was all there for him, performing in the very same ring.
And that really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. Fellini saw Rome as this giant circus of spectacle and searching. He used that lens to examine the hunt for meaning back in the 1960s. So now, over 60 years later, in our own world of social media, curated performances, and just endless spectacle, it really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? What does the sweet life even mean today?